Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Reality Is, where words do come to life. So on today, we experience something that was very unbelievable before our eyes. We experience the breach inside of the Capitol. We experience a bunch of number 45 supporters breaking in, breaking glass, knocking over guards, pictures shown of one sitting in Nancy Pelosi's office with the feet on the desk. And you have to wonder, you can't think, how do we get to this point? Because it's been playing out since day one of number 45 existence. But you know who I blame the most? I blame the Republicans. I blame your Mitch McConnells. I blame your Ted Cruz. I blame every Republican that went along with the madness. I blame every Republican that did not push the impeachment. I blame you all. The rhetoric, the stupidity, the disregard for the oath of office, the disregard for people has been played out over and over. He's did more criminal activity than the criminals themselves have done. But yet and still, people were scared to address him. He was allowed to make all kinds of remarks over the airwaves, and nobody said nothing or did nothing, even our judicial system. What bothered me the most was, as we approached today, there was no National Guards outside. It was a Black Lives Matter protest. They would have been fully loaded, armed, and ready to go. But that wasn't the case. And then you got to ask yourself, why? Because they're white people. White people have white privilege. Black and brown people don't have that kind of privilege. They don't. Now, they stormed the Capitol, climbed on everything, tore up TV equipment, hung the flag that says number 45. And all the news media was being nice. Nobody called them thugs. Nobody called them demons. Nobody called them ignorant. Nobody called them terrorists. Nobody called them out of their name. But you know what they called them? They called them protesters. And then there was a young lady who later on, when they tried to clear the air, got tear gas, and she was upset. And I'm trying to figure out why. When I watch the police officers that unloaded and they walked through the crowd that had taken over the Capitol, they just walked through. They didn't have no dogs. They didn't have no batons. They didn't have no tear gas. They didn't have none of that. They didn't push the crowd back. They gently treated them with kid gloves. But if it had been black or brown, a couple would have been dead by now. A lot of them would have been arrested. And the dogs would have bitten so many, it would have been ridiculous. And more than one person would have experienced some tear gas. So you ask, is this United States? I say it's not. I say it's racism at its best, played out before our very eyes. We saw your George Floyd with the knee on the neck. We saw Breonna Taylor apartment being broken into and she loses her life. We've seen your Tamir Rice. Jacob Blake, just recently, they let them off. And they shot somebody in the Capitol, and then later on we find that the young lady died. Who's going to be accountable for that death? Who's going to be accountable? How many people are you going to arrest? And then this fool gets on and makes a video talking about we want nobody like you. It's in your mind that you're thinking that you have a seat, that we don't want your ass in. We evicted you from the seat. And for every Republican that went along with it, for your Ted Cruz and all those Republicans that pushed and said the election was fraud when the American people spoke, And then the news media who says, oh, the protesters have a right to exercise their First Amendment. Well, Black Lives Matters had a right to exercise their First Amendment. Was they given that right? Was the two young men that was killed in Wisconsin by Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old with an assault rifle, didn't they have rights of freedom of speech? So it's clear to me that the scales are not balanced, and it depends who those individuals are. That's what it depends on. Now, you talk about unity. How are we going to have unity? How are you going to fix this when it's so far gone? It's so far out of place. He released those individuals in prison before he's walking out of office. A bunch of them. But you won't free the black and brown people that's locked up in jail. I'm not understanding that. These judges have went along. The only good thing about the judges is that they didn't go along with the voters' fraud. But they're still trying to turn over an election that was clearly spoken by the American people what they desired. And they desired that Trump ass be removed from the seat. And in his mind, and you all tested him and said he was not delusional, he was not mental. I beg to differ, because only a delusional, sick, mental person will allow it to get to this point. And for your kids, his kids, to go along with it and don't tell their ignorant daddy no difference, they are just as much to blame too. The junior, he crazy as hell too. Crazy. But I hold Mitch McConnell more so accountable, because you went along with all this nonsense. Mike Pence, I hold you accountable. And then he turned on you. It was going to sick them on you too. Now, you fear for your lives, and you feel like y'all need to be covered. Y'all don't cover us, the black and brown people, but you feel like you deserve to be covered. Why? Those are the people that skin color look like yours. And they said they wasn't going to leave. They all over the breaking glass, tearing up the place. And nobody demeaned them for who they was. You didn't call them animals. You didn't call them criminals. You didn't call them anything. Everybody on the news media say this is a shame. This is not how it should be. But only one or two people call it for what it really was. You call black people animals. You call us criminals and thugs. Number 45 even wanted to sit out the National Guard for a lot of the protests. But you wouldn't sit out. And for me, it was a setup. It was pre-planned and pre-plotted. Somebody gave them all the information they need, how to get in and when to get in, and where to go in those hallways. And that's enough to hang number 45 and anybody that's attached to. Now, when we get arrested for something, we're guilty by association. So every Republican that allowed this and said it was okay, and you kept your mouth closed and you didn't do nothing, you're guilty by association. Here's my suggestion. They all should be locked up. Everyone that stood outside those stairs should go into somebody's prison system. You got to spread their ass across 50 states of united. That's what it needs to happen. And that individual that killed that young lady, I want to see what you're going to do. I really want to see what you're going to do. So you all have destroyed the little bit of faith that the people had. You killed that today. It's gone. And we as black and brown people should be pissed off, because you have our people locked up in these prisons, and white folks do crime and they've been getting away with it. That man who shot that boy in the back, Jacob Blake, he got to walk away. They got to walk away. They get to go home to their family. See, the white privileges is becoming too much. Too much to chew, too much to swallow, and too much to digest. It's too much. Racism in the United States. How do you think this make this country look? It make us look like a damn fool. That's what it make us look like. Now you sitting in office and trying to verify the electoral college vote when you all should have verified that a long time ago. We shouldn't even be at this place, but you have to check and balance when people spoke. Any other office, would not be doing this. If it was President Barack Obama in the seat of number 45, y'all have killed that idea a long time ago. Y'all full of shit. Bottom line, you're full of shit. This country is full of it. I don't trust no judge. I don't trust some of you police officers. I don't trust the state's attorney. I don't trust none of y'all, because it depends on who the individual, which way you will sway. And this ain't nothing new. This has been this way for 400 plus years. It ain't nothing new. We don't get no win. We don't get no leverage. We already deemed to be something that we're not. And that right there is the problem. Now, how Joe Biden gonna fix it, I don't know. But I'm inquiring minds want to know, and I want to see. Today was an embarrassment. Today was a disgrace. Even for how it was presented on the plate. We watched it, how you treated them people with kid gloves, and you want us to have sympathy. I don't have no damn sympathy. We've been dealing with this shit for a long time, so I don't have no sympathy. I don't. This y'all mess. Republicans and number 45. And you need to evict his ass ASAP from the seat. Y'all to blame for all this mess. Wholeheartedly take ownership to it. It's your mess.